from the heart of rural France. This is the Keto Woman podcast, brought to you by me. Hello Keto Lovelies, I'm Daisy Brackenhall, and I've spent most of my life struggling with my weight and confidence, and have always had a difficult relationship with food. Even when I finally got to my target weight, after weight loss surgery and eating low carb, I couldn't maintain it and I was miserable. I've been keto now for over 2 years, and it has given me the freedom to fall in love with food again, without the constant gain, loss, guilt, virtue cycle of before. Health and happiness is where it's at now, running on fat. Welcome to the Keto Woman podcast. Each week I'll be chatting to inspirational women, maybe even the odd man, to discover the secrets to their success so that I can share them with you. So what is keto? Keto is a way of eating that enables you to switch your body's main fuel source from sugar to fat. Who doesn't want to be a fat burner, right? But how do we achieve this? A great place to start is by keeping carbs under 20 grams a day. So things like leafy greens and above ground vegetables, plus some nuts and seeds and the incidental carbs you find in things like full fat dairy. Choose delicious fatty proteins and be free and easy with oily dressings on salad and butter on your veggies. Once you're in the swing of things, you can tweak it to suit you. Make your own personalised keto. You'll hear all sorts of ways to keto from my guests. There is no one way to do keto, no one size fits all. I hope to show you just how flexible and fabulous this way of eating can be. I'm not a doctor, and most of my guests won't be either, so we really can't give you medical advice. It's always best to consult your own doctor when making big changes to your diet and lifestyle, because they know you and your medical history, and so have access to the bigger picture. Wouldn't it be helpful to have one place where you could find all the links? Want to sign up to my new Patreon exclusive Facebook group, Daisy's Lovelies? No problem. How about subscribing to my YouTube channel? Please help me notch up my first 1,000 subscribers by going to links.ketowomanpodcast.com and following the YouTube link. Not following me on Instagram yet? Hit the Instagram button. You get the idea. All the buttons, all the links you need are at links.ketowomanpodcast.com. Thank you for joining me for episode number 114, the last episode of 2019. This week I'm doing something a little bit different, a crossover with Kim Houghton's podcast, Keto Life Support. Kim Terri and I are great buddies and have spent some quality time together this year, sharing a room at a couple of conferences. I thought it would be fun to meet up again online for a natter. Kim and Terri have both been on the podcast before, and I'll put links to their episodes in the show notes, which you can find at ketowomanpodcast.com/114. You probably know both these fabulous ladies already, but here is a bit of an intro. Kim struggled with her relationship with food from the time she was 8. As the years went by and her health problems mounted, she felt at the mercy of her body and out of control with her weight. A dedicated seeker of pleasure, she realised that life in a body that was always in pain was no way to live, that a pleasurable life starts by living in a body that feels good. Enter keto, a life that has brought together her love of satisfying delicious foods in a way that makes her actually feel good. She now shares her love of all things keto by creating recipes, running a Facebook group, and with the podcast Keto Life Support. You can find Kim's website at theketonist.com. and links to her 3 fabulous cookbooks. Kim also runs a keto coaching program with Carrie Brown called Happy Healthy Keto. They have tweaked the program and it now runs for 12 weeks. The program starts soon once the festivities are all over, so sign up now if you want to jump on board in the new year. And you can also grab an early bird discount until the end of December. You can find the link in the show notes or on my links page at links.ketowomanpodcast.com. Terri Lance has been keto for over 3 years and paleo for 2 before that. She struggled with being overweight or obese from age 7 until about 5 years ago and tried all types of weight loss plans and diets throughout most of her adult life. Diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in her early 30s, Terri was prescribed many medications, typically taking 3 for diabetes, a statin and an ACE inhibitor. She no longer takes any prescriptions and no longer has any biomarkers of type 2 diabetes. Terri was a middle school English teacher at the start of her career, then went back to grad school and earned her PhD in counselling psychology. She was then a psychologist in private practice for over 13 years. She is now a coach with IDM's The Fasting Method. Terri is also the director of retreat development and has hosted 2 fasting retreats in Hawaii. It's that time of year again when we say goodbye to this one and look forward to the next. Of course, this time it's a whole new decade too. Thank you for sharing another year with me. I hope it has been a good one for you and that 2020 will be even better. Join the 3 of us now for a bit of a rambly chat about all sorts of things, from storage issues to dogs. Welcome to the Keto Woman podcast
and Keto Life Support.
Our first ever crossover, Keto Multiverse.
That's right, we are merging, not permanently, but for a moment.
So I guess we should also say who's here.
Yeah, we brought a friend.
We did.
Our friend Terri. Terri, introduce yourself.
Hey, this is Terri Lance, and I am a member in both communities, so I'm already in the Keto Multiverse.
Well, it's super fun to see you guys because if people don't know, which I don't know why people would know, but people should know that we are thick as thieves, as they say. We are good friends. We always look forward to when we can spend time together at conferences. Yeah, always fun to see these ladies.
And we room together at conferences. We've done that twice this year, haven't we?
We do.
Yeah, it's great fun.
No one will sleep in my bed because I smack them in the middle of the night accidentally.
Which I know from experience.
Poor Terri. The black eye healed nicely, though. It was okay.
Apparently, I'm really quiet and don't move a lot, which surprised me because I always think of myself as a toss and turner.
Nope, no movement.
So it is mid-holiday period. We're, inching in on the new year. So we thought it was a great time to get together and do a little bit of a catch-up. By the way, if my voice sounds weird, people, I've got at the end of a little sniffle, so deal with it.
I got over one a while ago. It's that time of year, isn't it? Everyone gets cold.
It is, and it's so funny that the first thought that I had, mostly because I have a lot of guilt about everything, is I was like, I feel vaguely guilty for getting a cold while being keto because we're supposed to be completely bulletproof. I will say that before keto, I used to get 5 or 6 colds a year. Now I get maybe 1, and it's much shorter. My colds used to always turn into bronchitis and yada yada. It's saga. I spent most of my time sick, basically. But now it's 5 days, and I'm better. I just have this sexy voice for a while. What's been going on, ladies?
Yeah. What has your 2019 been like? Who's going to start? Kim, you start.
I talk all the time. This year's been, I don't know, I feel like 2019's been kind of harsh. It's been a rough year for a lot of people. I've been going through a lot of adjustments and changes and, what's been, I'm I don't know. Mostly I've been hiding under a blanket. I don't know what's happening. I started a podcast. That was new. I've been writing a book with Dr. Ken Berry about blood labs, and we decided actually to also run a course about it. And so we've been developing that, and it's starting in January.
Is that when the book comes out too?
No. No, Daisy. The book is
she has that look.
The book is coming later. It's but the course is coming first because a lot of people it kind of developed because we were like, well, people really want this information, and in a course, it's a lot more interactive. We can answer questions. We're going to work with people more directly, and that allows us to not have to have the full format of the book completed. There's also stuff like publishers and print. It's all gets complex when you get to the book stage. So that's part of why the course came about, is so that we could help people sooner.
Good idea.
Yeah. So I'm still living in Berkeley, my hometown. I'm still living with my lovely Eric. He is out and about today. My family, though, this Christmas is a little different. My well, I mean, they're still my family, but my brother moved to Italy for a year with his 3 kids and wife. And so they're in Florence. So
Oh, nice.
And so they're not here. So I haven't seen them for several months, and I'm not going to see them until the summer unless I go to Italy, which I probably will.
You should.
So there's less family about. And my parents actually are currently in New York for the week of Christmas. It's going to be a holiday this year with my boyfriend Eric and his family.
Nice.
Nice.
I have a tree.
You have a tree. I don't. I'm a real Scrooge when it comes to Christmas. She's showing us her tree.
Nice.
Very pretty. It's a real one.
It is a real one.
It smells nice too.
It does. Although I can't smell anything.
Are you watering it?
Yes, water. It's getting water every day because it dries out pretty quick.
Good.
Other than that, in 2019, it's been coaching, it's been running classes. I'm developing a bunch of new stuff for 2020, and so that's exciting.
You do surprise me. You are queen of the new stuff. You like the new projects.
Yes, people have mentioned before that I am not happy unless I'm deep in developing something new.
You're an innovator.
Well, sorta. Mostly easily bored.
Well, I suppose that's the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Like whenever, because, obviously you create courses, they take a ton of work, and then you're like, oh, good, I'm done. I'm done with creating this course. All the work is done. I finished it. And now I can simply allow this course to be out there in the world and people to learn. And then like a couple months later, I'm like, I don't like that about that thing. I want to change it. I apparently just have to get used to the idea that I just like doing the work.
What about you, Terri? You have had
Terri's had a
big
whirlwind.
things happening.
Yeah, the past year has been kind of nonstop stuff for me. I moved before the holidays last year, so toward the end of 2018, I moved from Ohio to Hawaii, and lots of changes there, living on an organic fruit farm in the jungle. So spent 10 months living there. And in the meantime, while I was there, I started working for Intensive Dietary Management, or IDM, as most people would know it.
Which is now something different.
It is. Our program within IDM is the fasting method. So you'll start to see TFM quite a bit. So the fasting method.
Oh, I see. So it's still the IDM umbrella, but it's the fasting method for
Correct.
The training program.
Yes. And so the fasting method is the place where we coach people and teach people how to utilize fasting for health and weight loss. So became a coach with them. And as the year progressed, joined in some other ways as well. Part of my role with them was to start a retreat program. And so I hosted 2 fasting retreats in Hawaii. Got to have some guests come and join me for a week at a time, and we did a 4-day water fast during each of those. So learning a lot about bringing people in and fasting them in a group setting. So that will continue beyond, but won't be in Hawaii at this point. In October of this year, I moved to San Diego, California. So still sunny, palm trees, setting, just a little different. I'm no longer in the jungle, no longer fighting.
Less humid.
Very much less humid, and no longer fighting cockroaches and geckos and centipedes and such.
Although, didn't you move a couple of cockroaches with you?
I did, yes. I'm still unloading some stuff as I'm unpacking into my new apartment. And at last count, I had found 5 cockroaches, and 3 of them were already dead, and 2 of them were actually alive because, those things can survive a nuclear holocaust. So they survived the move just fine. Yes. So those are the kind of career shifts for me, lots of changes on those fronts. Trying different things, health-wise, dietary-wise. And I'm sure we'll get into some of those things. Yeah, so that's been my year. A lot of chaotic moving and traveling across the ocean.
Yeah, not easy. It's not like moving from one state to another, is it? Even though you are.
Yeah.
It's not like the normal, you know what I mean, moving land state to state.
Yeah.
You're now back in the contiguous United States.
I am. And when I was in Hawaii, I started using the term mainland a lot, which I had never once used in my life before. But now I refer to being back on the mainland. So it's a reference that has stuck with me now. And so we'll be continuing retreats this year, doing some retreats on the mainland, and lots of new things coming with IDM and the fasting method. So that's where I am right now.
That's exciting. Something to watch out for.
Yeah.
I've heard there are lots of new and exciting projects coming. That sounds good.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Daisy, what's been going on with you?
With me, well, I was nodding away when you said it's been a bit of a difficult year. It feels like there's been some really good stuff this year. I've been to, for me anyway, I know you, Kim in particular, but Terri, you go to lots of conferences. But I don't tend to go to that many and only started last year really. But this year I got to go to 3. The biggest one, of course, well, I always think of it as the biggest one, Denver. It seems to me to be probably one of the best, if not the best, low-carb conferences. I certainly really enjoyed it, got a lot out of it, and shared a room with you two, which was fabulous. Really enjoyed that. Then I went to the PHC again in London, which was great. And then Keto Fest, of course, which was kind of that mix for me. It's pretty stressful because I'm quite involved with the running of it. But it was really nice, again, to share a room with you two and be staying in town made a huge difference. I suppose I would say the best thing to come out of my year is Rocket. Another new dog. I think same probably goes for you, Terri, with Koa. But
absolutely.
He's been absolutely fabulous. And weirdly, they kind of look a bit alike, don't they, Rocket and Koa?
Brothers from a different mother.
Sort of completely different. They're weird. Rocket we were comparing the other day, weren't we? We were having a chat on Zoom and we were looking at each other's dogs, and we worked out he's almost twice the size of Rocket. Rocket is much finer and more delicate looking, but they have the similar, aren't they? Got the big ears and just slightly curly tail, probably a bit naughty sometimes, very loving.
They look like baby deer.
They do, very sweet. And he kind of, he runs weirdly a bit like a deer as well. Not like other lurchers I've had, but yeah, he's a love. I absolutely adore him. But those are the good things. But other than that, it's been a bit crappy, to be honest. My depression has moved back in full force. It has actually been a bit better the last few weeks, but yeah, it just feels like I'm kind of glad it's almost done, 2019. And I feel like 2020 feels like I've got the big hope on 2020. 2020 is going to be the big one. Everything's going to be fabulous. That's probably part of the way I'm always trying to put how everything's going to be okay somewhere in the distance. And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But trying to get the house ready to sell. So that's all. There's all sorts of things going on. Lots of hard labour I've been doing the last few days. Building some steps at the front of the house and trying to get the house looking good to put it back on the market in the spring. And then maybe move, I don't know where to yet. Latest place I've been looking at is Wales, so we shall see.
Wales,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very scary, actually. I kind of like the idea of something new, but I also find it terrifying. And I'm also really bad at hoarding, so I have so much stuff to go through to sort out before I can leave. It's
Terri knows a little bit about that.
I do. And I'll tell you, a deadline really helped, because at some point, nothing that was in the boxes that I had not touched in 4 or 5 or 12 years seemed important anymore, and much went away.
You had to whittle down quite a lot, didn't you? Because you had a set amount you could move. Was it? You had that big crate on a pallet, didn't you? And then you had a few boxes and whatever you could stuff in suitcases.
I did. I took 3 suitcases with me and my dog carrier. And then I put everything that went with me to Hawaii was in a box that was like 40 by 48 by 64. So it was just like one big box.
Like a refrigerator, basically.
Yeah. What I found, though, when I was there is that I didn't use probably even half of that stuff. And so it helped me to learn a lot about things and how much stuff I carry with me and what the impact of that is. So that's been a big exploratory piece of this past year for me, is trying to learn about myself and patterns that I have and ways that I want to keep moving forward and improving things.
It was quite a painful process, though. I seem to remember.
Yes.
You kept putting things, do I keep this? It's really hard.
Yeah. It's, for me, I think memories are I used to really attach memories in things and really working on not having to have the physical things to hang on to the memories and the feelings. So it definitely was a lot of letting go. During this year, my mom also died, so that was a big letting go. So I agree with you, Daisy, and I think Kim too. 2019 has been a rough year for lots of reasons.
How did you make some of those decisions? Because as soon as you said that about attaching feelings to things, I mean, I have boxes in my barn with things like toys from when I was a child that I haven't opened those boxes since I've been here. So you could say, okay, so if you haven't opened that box, you don't really need it. And potentially that's what I need to do is get rid of those things. But then also comes the problem, how do you get rid of it? Because I don't want to put it in the bin. If it's not the kind of thing that can go to a charity shop or be sold, how do you get rid of a ceremonial bonfire maybe? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think for me, once I decided to let it go, I paid less attention to what happened to it. I mean, one example for me is I had a box of old letters from middle school and high school.
I've got some of those.
Early college, back when we still wrote letters, before we had email and before we had cell phones. So all communication over long distance was either by phone or letters. And so I actually, I think at some point it just went in the trash. But I looked through them. I read some of them. I remembered some things. I had some letters from people that I didn't even remember that we had been writing letters. So I got to relive some of the parts, but realized, I'm 50 at this point. How many times in the past 40 years have I looked at those? And that was probably one. So carrying them with me was really just taking up energy and space. So I really worked on letting go of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure that out.
I haven't moved in forever. I've been in my apartment for a very long time, but it's a very small apartment. And Eric has lots of stuff. Not like memory stuff. He's a crafter. Like he makes custom fishing lures and, he makes things all the time. So we have to have equipment to make those things. And so most of the storage in our apartment is for those kinds of things. So the room for the sort of hoarding tendencies is very small. When Eric moved in eons ago, I had to kind of figure out what was staying and what was going. And every couple months, we look at each other and we're like, okay, today we're going to get rid of some stuff. So we edit constantly. And one of the things that I found useful was like, I used to save like t-shirts, like that I would get at conferences and events. You always get a t-shirt. And I was like, I never wear these t-shirts. I am a woman with large boobs. They always make me look awful. And, the blocky thing, and you're like, this is bad. So I just started making a habit of when I come home from something, if I know that I'm never going to wear it, I do not keep it. And so just starting some of those processes has helped us really keep the apartment less, like literally, if we kept stuff, we would be like climbing over it to get out of the apartment because there's just no room. So that's really helped. But I do have a bin, like probably the size of, I don't know, it's like a 2-foot by 2-foot bin, And I do let myself, like I can keep some keepsakes in there, but that's it. I've just got this space. And so I do have a few things, some like yearbooks and a few childhood things, but if it doesn't fit in that bin, I don't keep it.
Reminds me of something Gretchen Rubin said a while ago. I think I was listening to one of her podcasts and it made complete sense. And it actually it reminded me when you were talking about because you haven't got the room. And I feel like, and especially, and with you, Terri, as well, when you were saying, once you've done that, I bet it changes how you are moving forward. And she said, what you have to do once you've had that clear out, but what you have to do on a day-to-day basis is not bring something home. Make that decision before it gets into your house. Because she said, once it's there, it then becomes really hard to get rid of. Like I was saying earlier, you've got to make the decision, how do you get rid of it? Can you sell it? Can you give it away? Do you have to throw it away? And that's quite a painful process. If you don't let it come home, So if someone gives you something you know you're not going to want, don't bring it home. Get rid of it before it comes home, and then you don't have to make that decision. I think that's what I'm going to have to do going forward.
Yeah, it's important. Like my mom is constantly like, do you want a set of sheets? Do you need a new set of dishes? She like wants to buy me stuff constantly, which is lovely. My automatic response is I have nowhere to put it. I have nowhere to put it.
See, I always say, yeah, I'll take that and I'll put it in the barn, or I'll put it, and now I have all this stuff to get rid of.
You are not others people's trash receptacle. Like a lot of times people are like, do you want this thing that I don't want?
Yeah.
No, I don't want it either.
And I think for me, a big mind shift that I'm continuing to have to work on is just because I can use it doesn't mean I will use it. Because I held on to things for 15 years because, well, I could use it someday.
Might use it.
But the reality is I won't use it. I'm not using it. And it's not serving me. And in a book I read, the person talked about, even if you have all of your stuff put away in the basement, you still have energy tied to that stuff that is being held and used up pointlessly. And that really helped me to say, yeah, I don't need those 40 boxes in the basement.
It does feel like that. Mm-hmm. It's stressful, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I always feel like...
It's like it tugs on you.
Yeah. If I get rid of that, I'm dreadful. Again, for pieces of paper, I'll write something down and can't throw it away. So I have these piles of paper, and occasionally I go through it all, and I feel like I'm on an absolute high when I've done it. So I imagine what I'm going to feel like when I've cleared out all this rubbish.
There goes that depression. It'll be gone.
Right? In a previous life, I was a closet designer. Right. So this was over a decade ago. I worked for, some of you might know California Closets. I worked for a company called California Closets. They're not only in California, whatever. It's a company where people go into your home, look at your closets, and help you figure out how to design an organizer so that all your stuff can be better organized. And it was a lot of time that I spent in people's closets with their stuff. And at first it was super fun and exciting. And I mean, it was a great job. I had a good time. But there were some closets that I went into and people were like, because one of the things we featured was that you could get more stuff into your closet if you had one of these organizers, because you could do like double racks or triple racks and that kind of thing. I started at a certain point going into people's closets. We also did offices and things, and I would be like, I know what you need to do. You have too much shit. That was all I could think. Like, no one needs 12 baby pink applique t-shirts. You know, like literally people are hoarding hideous clothes. And it really broke something in my brain, like in a good way, I think, where I was like, how much of this stuff are you actually wearing? Now, the other judgmental part of me was like, you should not wear any of this. You need a new wardrobe because this is terrible.
That's a whole different job.
That's a whole different job. But for the most part, I was like, really? I mean, we can make it look lots prettier, and I'm happy to do an organizer for you. It does make life easier. I have one. I love it. It makes my closet kind of a little luxurious. But the first step is that like 70% of this should go. So I think that's where I started the process of not holding on to too much stuff.
I've got a stuffed, well, I would call it a wardrobe. And then I have rails upstairs full of stuff. And of course, I have all the different sizes as well.
Right.
So I have old, big stuff that I still quite like that I really should get rid of. I have the smaller stuff. And then I actually had to go out and buy some more trousers. See, this is why I feel justified when I hoard everything, because if I get rid of it and I put on some weight, I don't have anything to wear. So I had to go out and buy some new trousers because I put on weight. But I've got all the smaller stuff, got stuff that I probably won't get back to that size. You know, how much of that am I supposed to get rid of? It's just, yeah, hoarder.
Well, I think years ago I lost some weight and I kept some clothes with that idea. And then I regained weight. This was before keto. And then I went back to wearing those clothes. And as soon as I started wearing them, I was like, I don't even like these clothes anymore. And I feel kind of hideous in them. Why did I even bother keeping them? Like, time progresses. I mean, maybe you're better at buying clothes. Maybe you buy things that you're always going to like, but
timeless.
Timeless dungarees.
I tell you what, though, when I spent a lot of years being very big, and I did actually keep some of my clothes from when I was late teens, early 20s, and I was thrilled to be able to get back into them, and I still like them. So, sometimes I feel justified for keeping hold of things.
If it works for you, it's not a problem.
That's right.
But it is a problem. I know it's a problem.
Yeah, I actually, you guys would be shocked. I love clothes. I actually really, really love clothes. But my hanging bar in my closet, people are like, this is so boring. My hanging bar in the closet is only 4 feet. So I only have 4 feet of hanging clothes.
My new closet is almost like a small bedroom. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff we tend to hang on to that doesn't really serve us. And like Terri said, that it can actually like weigh us down, and that can be stuff. It can be attitudes. It could be opinions. Like, we all have ways in which we almost hoard feelings. And I don't know about you guys, but I had several experiences. Like Daisy, I suffer at times with bouts of depression. And while it's been exponentially better since I went keto, I still have these kind of worn mental pathways where I can go downhill. And I think that a lot of times for me, it's kind of a similar, like, I might not hoard things, but I almost hoard a bad mood sometimes, or feeling bad about myself. I really sometimes can suffer from a lot of negative self-talk that I have to sort of reroute. And I think that in 2019, I didn't spend enough time telling myself to shut it when some of those negative spirals happened. Do you guys get into negative spirals?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's habit. A lot of it's habit, isn't it? When you just, like you say, well-worn paths, and you need to find a way to change those and forge new ones. Easier said than done sometimes.
Absolutely. And it's hard to do by yourself. Right? Like, I find depression and isolation go hand in hand. And sometimes it's self-inflicted isolation. Like, I have gazillions of friends. I could talk to somebody at any hour of the day about something. And often I choose to isolate because I almost want to hoard my bad mood. So one of the things that I'm really looking forward to this year is that I've made a commitment to stop hoarding bad moods.
Let them go.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the commitments that I have for 2020 is to actually talk to people a lot more. So I'm glad we're doing this.
That's great.
It's funny how I'm nodding along quite often when you're saying things, because I was just thinking, you quite often do all the wrong things when you're feeling really bad, because you're feeling really bad. So you don't feel like doing the things you should be doing. I turn into myself as well.
Yeah.
And I feel that way. And I shouldn't be doing it. I should be getting out. I should be talking to people. I should be doing all the things when you go down a checklist of what you're supposed to do to make yourself feel better. Alternatively, I guess, reading down through the signs that you have depression. But the point is, you don't feel like you're in a place to be able to do something about it. And I know that my eating has on and off gone a bit out of control this year. And that, I have to say, I talk about keto as being good for my migraines and my depression. And it is so true, because when my eating got really out of whack, I was getting headaches all the time. And it certainly negatively impacted my mood.
It's hard not to feel awful when you have a headache. Really. Yeah.
But having tightened things up, that has been the change. And it hasn't been like it's been like that all year. That's what was so annoying, but I've had periods when it's been down. But tightening things up, but that has been this time what has started turning it the other way. So I want, similar to you, I suppose I want to focus more on working on that, doing the right things, maybe trying to install some good new practices to try and keep my mental health more upbeat. Because that's, for me, when that goes down, I get nothing done, nothing gets accomplished. I feel bad about myself. Everything is just this downward spiral. And then, of course, all those things feed in. So you haven't got things done that you planned, and that makes you feel worse about yourself. And then everything gets overwhelming and you don't get anything done, and that makes you feel worse about yourself. And
the insistent negativity in my head is kind of, I have a lifelong struggle, I think, with needing to feel useful and getting things done. And when I go through a period where I'm not feeling like I'm checking all the boxes and getting things done and on top of my game and keeping it going, and, you know, I come from a family of workaholics. We all are just constantly on the go, go, go. And so if there's ever a downtime, like, I'm not talking about like a vacation, but like a time when I'm like, wow, this isn't quite coming together, which is normal in the creative cycle, that sometimes you need some percolation on something. But it's hard for me not to see that as a sign that I'm failing.
because from an outside perspective, it's something I always say about you. Well, Kim is the person I'd like to be when it comes to getting stuff done. I'm way too much of a perfectionist, and what that often ends up meaning is that I have these amazing projects in my head, but they never come to fruition. I want to be more like Kim. She just gets stuff done, and you do. So so from an outside perspective, it's not necessarily what you're seeing.
But the torture inside the head is very similar.
Well, also, and the three of us have talked some about this before, the comparing.
Yeah.
Comparing yourself to others. You know, Daisy, as you were saying that, I was just thinking earlier, I saw something on Facebook that you had posted that you got a deal with, I don't even remember the name of the company, but they make those little cheese crisps kinds of things. Cheesies.
You know, Kim, you know how much I love the cheese snacks in America. Moon cheese. Well, I found this company, Cheesies, in the UK, and they taste just like moon cheese.
Neat.
And they're delicious.
That's awesome. I was comparing myself to you. I'm like, oh man, Daisy found these cheesies that she loves. She reached out to them, and now she's got this deal set up with them where
She gets
myself
free cheesies.
I know, where I would be like, oh, that would be really nice, but I'd have to make a phone call. And I just wouldn't do it.
No, see, this is where the whole external internal thing comes in. I didn't set anything up. I bought some cheesies, and then I got an email saying, if you refer 5 friends, you'll get 50% off your next purchase. So no, actually, I didn't.
But even that, I probably would say to myself, I don't want to have to get 5 people to buy it. So I just kind of shoot down my ability to do it. Whereas when I saw you accomplishing it, I thought, geez, I should be more like Daisy.
Cheesies.
Yes, with cheesies.
We all compare, I mean, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way I think our brains are set up. It can be useful, right? Compare and contrast. It's how we learn often, but we compare to other people, and it's insidious.
And the three of us have also talked about the idea that I think I've struggled some with this definitely this year, is that kind of imposter syndrome. That if I am what other people think I am, I wouldn't be struggling with this. Or if I lived the way other people see me, I wouldn't be doing this or whatever. And as a psychologist, I feel that often of, oh, I should not have negative self-talk going on. I should have great self-esteem. But alas, I too struggle with it. And one of the things I'm getting to do this coming year with the fasting method is to do some book discussion groups. And some of the topics we're going to do are things like negative self-talk. There are some books that I've chosen for that. And food addiction, and when food is comfort, and how we use food emotionally and things. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a great opportunity for me to really feel consistent with thinking positively about these things and resolving some of my challenges with them, as well as helping other people to do so.
Yeah, I think from an addict perspective, so I definitely identify as a food addict, and I spent a lot of years kind of deep within my food addiction. And then I found keto, and a lot of that alleviated. But I think some of the things that, Daisy, you and I might be experiencing is actually we've both now been keto for a number of years. We kind of went through that period where we focused on keto a lot in our own lives because it was new and different and exciting. And that newness kind of gave us some dopamine release. At least this is true of me. Daisy, you can agree or disagree. But like that newness, it gives us that hit of chemical we're seeking in our brain. And then now settling into this is simply a lifestyle. There's not that same kind of hit. And what can come now is my theory of addiction. I mean, it's not my theory, but the theory that I ascribe to in addiction is that many of us developed these addictive behaviors as a coping mechanism where we lacked the ability to deal with them in ways that don't cause self-harm. I developed my food addiction as a child when I didn't know how to that's hard to say. When I didn't know how to self-soothe very well, or I didn't know how to talk about my feelings, or I didn't know how to share things that were going on. And food allowed me to feel better on the short term. And so what started as a sort of useful coping mechanism became destructive. And that's when it kind of becomes an addictive issue. And so because of that, when I went keto, I had this new exciting thing that took the place of some of the negative behaviors. I kind of moved my addiction over, right? But now settling it into a lifestyle of just eating this way, and it's not new and it's not hard, and it's those same issues, the thoughts, the feelings, the self-talk, the difficulty dealing with things, the emotional aspects of life, which sometimes suck. I actually have to deal with them as an emotionally healthy person now because I have given up my main coping mechanism. It's no wonder that I think this has been kind of a hard year when I really sit down and think about it, because I have to adult, right? Like I have to, people make a joke about it, about adulting, but like I have to actually deal with this shit. Like I can't just stuff it anymore. And learning to do that is hard. And, maybe I'm just emotionally damaged, but, it's like I'm 43 and trying to do the kinds of things that, like the work that if I had been maybe an emotionally healthy teenager, I would have been doing.
It's that maintenance period, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. I was nodding along again because the same here. I actually learned to turn in on myself and learn to start eating when I was a child too, for various traumatic reasons. But it's that maintenance period. I think there's that whole thing, the seesaw, when you're losing, gaining weight. A lot of us have done that over the years. You lose some, then you gain some, plus a bit more, and it goes backwards and forwards. But there is an addiction in that cycle. You feel really good about yourself and pure and like you're doing the right thing when you're losing weight, and you get on the scales and it's going down and you're all for it, this diet that's working and everything feels good. And then on the other side of it, when you're gaining weight, you're feeling guilty, but you're sort of indulging in these things that you think are giving you comfort. Of course they're not. And you're either sort of doing one thing or the other. Rarely, people like me anyway, have that maintenance period. I've always been either gaining weight or losing weight and feeling bad or good, depending. But it's that maintenance period. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people start keto. Most people start keto for a reason. And that's often weight loss. Once they've got to where they want to get to, or even get close to it and going into that period of maintenance, that's where people seem to struggle, because you've got that diet mentality, haven't you? I'm going to do this diet to lose X amount of weight. When you get there, when you drop your 2 dress sizes or whatever it is, the headlines on these diets. And then the whole thing is, once you've done it, then you can kind of sort of let everything go and go back to being normal, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case, is it? You need to maintain that. And that's kind of, again, quote unquote, the boring bit, except it's not. It's actually the really important adulting bit.
I know. Well, I think, I realized the other day that like most of my life has been similarly. See, we're so similar. I'm starting a diet on Monday. I mean, for most of my life,
it's always Monday.
Always Monday.
Because then you can indulge and get rid of all the stuff, buy all the stuff to have over the weekend.
But one thing I thought about recently is Sunday used to be amazing, right? Because you would be eating trash maybe, but you'd be filled with this sense of hope. It was like tomorrow my life will change. Like I'm going to win the lottery tomorrow. And there was this addictive, sticky quality to this hope. The belief that I know the answer if only I can do it. And I just have to. And so one of the things of being keto is I don't have that Sunday experience anymore. And it occurred to me recently that there's this sort of almost slightly unsavory part of my personality that misses it because hope is really addictive too.
Mm.
Have either of you read the book Atomic Habits?
Yes.
No.
He talks about this, I think, in there as far as oftentimes it's the seeking of the goal, the seeking of that, whatever it is, that we actually get the charge from. It's not in the actual attaining it.
Right.
And so even if you think about that Sunday, you are filled with this excitement of, oh, tomorrow life is really going to start. I'm going to fix things. And so you are on a bit of a high. And then Monday comes and Tuesday comes, and there's no real satisfaction with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think many of us find ourselves in this perpetual cycle of, I'm going to keep seeking. And so I think going back to what you were saying, Daisy, about reaching a goal, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I think there's something challenging about this idea of we're motivated to reach a goal because as we approach the goal and once we achieve the goal, what happens to motivation?
Mm-hmm.
I think many of us lose the drive, the consistency. As you said, Kim, we kind of lose the high of, reaching. So there's a whole piece in there about what actually drives us and how can we use that more effectively.
Because almost anyone can do any form of diet change for a couple of weeks, can't you? Even if you really hate it, you can usually have that fire and determination and motivation to do it for a certain period of time. Again, it's this whole diet mentality that is very deeply embedded, I think. But like you say, for quite deep psychological reasons.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this year, I've noticed more thoughts about food. So in periods where I feel more down, or maybe not super down, but like highly self-critical or distracted by self-critical thoughts, I've noticed that at night I start food fantasizing sometimes where I'll be like, tomorrow I'm going to do this thing with, like, I'm going to eat this thing that I don't eat, right? Fill in the blank. And I'm like, what? Why am I thinking? And then the next day I won't eat it. But I have for 30 seconds, this thought gets lodged in my brain, maybe 2 minutes, where it's like, I'm thinking about this action I'm going to take tomorrow that is like, it makes as much sense as me being like, tomorrow I'm going to chop my finger off. It's this weird thought. And I'm like, where is that even coming from? All I can kind of start to think about is I'm actually looking for ways to punish myself for it's a negative spiral. And I'm strong enough and I am like conscious enough to know that I don't have to act on my thoughts. But I sort of see it as almost a self-harm thought where maybe I'm looking to distract myself from the hard things I'm thinking about. And so I put my attention on a really easy thing to think about that seems like it would be a good idea, but is actually going to make me feel incredibly bad about myself if I eat that. It's a very complex thing, but I'm noticing as I'm in this period of just living my life that I actually used to use food both as a reward and a punishment. And I'm noticing the punishment aspect more.
I think that side of it becomes much more apparent. It's a good way to describe it, actually, self-harm. And when I do actually flip into the actual doing of it, you might think about it and not do it the next day. I have periods of doing it. But it gets to that point where it's almost this kind of challenge of how much can I punish myself? I can feel myself not feeling very good. And it's like, and it just, how far can I go? And then I'm going to fix it on Monday.
I was just going to say, and I think sometimes, I know I have done this, and I think other people do, we're in that cycle of, while I'm punishing myself, I know then that I get this high from starting over or achieving my new goal. So it's almost like I'll knock myself down to this level so that I have to reach back up to this level and get that great feeling. It's like this crazy inside our head, up and down or back and forth.
I suppose in some ways it's good though that eating of those type of foods, now I only see it in a sort of a self-harm, punishing type way. I don't see it as a treat anymore like I would have done before.
Yeah, it's a real shift in thinking, and it has helped me to kind of really connect with the term self-harm. It's not true of everybody, but for myself, once I take off the brakes on certain types of foods, it's just a downward spiral because it chemically drives my mood down. Like I get it, sort of like some people will see like the blood sugar spike you get, right? I'll get a momentary spike of like dopamine, which is kind of a reward center chemical, and then it'll dip out, and then I'm lower than I was before I started, sort of like mental hypoglycemia. And I know that with my kind of depression, which I've suffered from since I was 9 years old, right? Like clinical depression, I can't take those kinds of risks. And I know that I'm strong enough to fix it, to get back out of it, but it's just sometimes it's better not to go there for me. And I think that Daisy experiences similar, right? Like the mood just tanks pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. I need that bit where you kick in, where you've just been saying, you know I can't risk that. I know you have enough of a brake system to stop you going into that. I mean, I know all these things. I know it's not a good idea, but I often just don't have enough. And at some point, it bottoms out. At some point, I feel so bad. It's like, right, now I've got to do something about it. Yeah. But it would be so much better not to have those periods at all.
And like, you can't beat yourself up for what has happened, but maybe I think every time we can try and learn from what just happened so that we can improve the next, like, it's like if you've never done this before, you don't know the warning signs, but if it's happening over and over again, maybe where do you need to divert? And I will be honest, it really helps that I have someone else that lives in my house. I don't know if I lived by myself, I might have given into more of those thoughts. I'm just going to be honest. I
wonder if we can train our dogs to do something, Terri. Is there a training you can do to get your dogs to intervene at the right moment?
I always joke,
don't do that.
Unfortunately, my dogs don't care what I eat and when I eat it, and they never tempt me with their food. So there are ways in which it's easy for me not living with someone else. But then, as Kim said, there are also ways that for me, it's less external accountability. There's no one aware of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, and, on the flip side, like currently I could show you my cupboards. They are full of junk food right now. It's Christmas time. Eric's not keto. He's very healthy, but not keto. There's a bunch of stuff that people have given us, and we've, Eric eats, and we've got, and even things that are supposedly healthy but aren't, like granola bars, like it's in there in my kitchen right behind me at every hour of every day. It actually doesn't tempt me because I've found it's just my normal. But there's a trade-off, right? Like there's somebody in my house who knows what I'm doing. I have a lot of personal, guilt because that's just who I am. So the thought of someone being aware of me eating certain foods that I'm not in approval of bothers me enough that I don't do it. But on the flip side, a lot of people struggle with foods in their house. So, there are pluses and minuses. Your dogs do not bring home cookies.
Never.
No.
Absolutely.
And on the other side, they help enormously. I'm sure it's the same with you, Terri. I can see you sitting there, Koa's next to you. I know I couldn't be without them. I couldn't get through life without them.
I love dogs and I love puppies. And I occasionally think about getting one. And then I remember that I'm far too irresponsible to be responsible. It's like, but they have to be walked every day. Every day, and I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Cats are easier.
It's true, but I'm allergic.
Oh,
I don't know. They're not. I've got cats as well, and they drive me around the bend.
We do have a lizard.
But yes, potentially they are. Depends on the cat, I suppose. You have a lizard.
Well, not right now, but we have at various times had lizards. Eric grew up in Panama. He's used to lizards. We've had some in a terrarium.
So not Terry's kind of lizards.
No, not free-ranging lizards. No. So 2020, How about it, ladies?
Yeah, there's probably a psychological explanation there too. But I'm putting all my hope on 2020, which
It's like
is
Monday.
probably not. It's like Monday.
I mean, I don't actually think 2020 is going to be like magically better than 2019. What I feel like is very different is for the past 2 months, I've spent a lot of time planning things that I'm actively going to be doing to make 2020 better. And I think that's a big difference, is sort of not constantly being in that triage, what crisis do I have to deal with today, but can I proactively get ahead of these things?
I certainly have some plans in my head. Whether I can turn them into real life things or not, we shall see.
You
I hope
can,
so.
but you should probably get them out of your head.
Absolutely. I also have too many real life physical projects like this, getting this house sorted, but potentially that's just an excuse. I'm always amazed that there are people that just seem to get a million things done every day, and I'm in awe of those people.
Me too.
Going back to that motivation talk, though, I think years ago I used to talk with clients about this when they would talk about not exercising and that being important to them or a goal that they wanted to work on, but they just couldn't. They didn't have enough time. They were too tired or whatever. Their kids were too needy or whatever. I said, okay, so if I had a deal with you and I said, all right, look, for the next 30 days, you will exercise for 30 minutes every single day. For 30 days. And if you do that, I will give you $1 million. Would you do it then? Hands down, every single one of them always said, absolutely. And I said, well, how would you do it? You just told me you don't have enough time. Your kids demand too much. You're too tired. They would get up earlier in the morning. They would skip their lunch hour. They would get someone to watch their kids. They would find a way to make it happen because that payoff was valuable enough to them to make it worth doing. What's the payoff worth to you, Daisy? What makes finishing each project worth it to you? Because I don't have $1 million to give you for it, but
I would like half.
Yeah.
But that idea
$1
of
million would probably do it.
We'll split it 3 ways.
But I say often, I really want to do this. I'm somehow not valuing it enough because I'm not taking the steps to have it come to fruition. So what would it take for you to reach those goals? What do you have to do? What's worth it to you?
It's a good point, isn't it? It's the whole finding your why, finding that. And if you can make that big enough and valuable enough, then it will help drive it.
And then I'm somebody who needs deadlines.
Deadlines help, for sure.
There's the emotional and the practical. I definitely need to understand why I'm doing things. I think that's central. But then if I don't have a deadline, it's not going to get finished because I get into that 90% done. And then the last 10%, I'm just spinning in my perfectionist cycles. Like it's pretty much done, but it's not good enough. And I can make it better and I can do this again. And I started that project, but I didn't finish it and so like I have all these open cycles and nothing's getting closed unless I have an actual deadline.
I never would have gotten rid of all that stuff if I had not had to close the box and put it on a truck to ship to Hawaii. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. So we all have kind of unique living situations. We all are on different, parts of the world. Although Terri and I are now pretty close.
Yeah, you are.
And we're in the
Certainly same time zone.
Yeah.
I mean, how far away is it? I remember
It's an 8-hour
was it
drive.
you, Kim, who posted when someone says they're in California and, oh, you must know so-and-so, but California is absolutely
It's
massive.
huge. It's like it's like the size of the East Coast without Florida. So if I were to get in my car right now and drive to Terri's house, I would hit LA traffic. So I would be there in about 12 to 14 hours.
Wow.
If I magically managed to drive with like avoiding the traffic, I'd be there in like 8.5.
Wow. So, yeah, quite a long way then. Mind you, quite a long way to a European.
It's an hour and
Different
15-minute plane ride. I can say that. From the time my flight took off in San Francisco to it landed in San Diego, it would be just over an hour.
It's the same as me getting to London. So,
And my holiday looked totally different this year because my brother and his kids are kind of like, the kids are often a center focus of a holiday season. And they have been in Florence this year for the holidays and longer. And so it's been sort of a very mellow, low-key Christmas time for me. Even Thanksgiving was pretty mellow. I did a big Thanksgiving meal because I enjoy cooking, but mostly it was a lot of days of leftovers for Eric and I. And then I put up a big tree because I love the tree, but there aren't really any gifts under it because everyone has already been shipped. And so it's a pretty low-key year for me, and I'm okay with that. How's your holiday season been?
but you really start a lot earlier. See, for me, with the British mentality, I know I live in France, but I guess, they operate the same. Well, actually, it's an even tighter window, but it's very much Christmas Eve to New Year's Day, and that's
right. You guys don't have
it.
Thanksgiving.
But you lot start right back in November. The holiday season is much longer for you.
Yeah. It's been pretty low-key. I haven't felt, with the exception of, creating some Christmas recipes for people that are in my group and things like that, I don't know that I've felt like it's been one solid holiday party for me. What about my other American?
I know for me, I think in the past few years, one year I took off between the weekend, Christmas and New Year's, and went backpacking in Nicaragua. And so it wasn't very food focused. It wasn't a lot of socializing and things like that. So that probably made that year easier. And I think since then, just in general, the holidays are less about food for me, but I don't have a lot of family commitments where you're going to show up with 47 other family members to eat 3 tables worth of carby foods or something like that. But just really trying to make it be the food that I eat during holidays I want to enjoy, but really not making it about the food as much as just relaxation. For me this year, it's just getting to a new apartment and settling in, maybe do some painting, something really exciting. But it's much less about the food and, all of the tension that I used to experience around that.
Yeah, same here, really. I'll just be spending it on my own. I'm a bit of a misery guts in some ways about Christmas. I haven't really enjoyed Christmas for since I was a kid, really. I feel it's all about the children, Christmas, and it's quite nice if a few Christmases ago, got to spend it and my niece and nephews and seeing them enjoy it was great. But I guess I just do what I want to on Christmas Day. It's kind of a nice day in a way because I just have a complete day off doing exactly what I want, spending it with the dogs. And I usually do make a bit of effort with food, actually. I'm quite lazy. I've got lazy these days with cooking, so just end up with real simple stuff. But I will make the effort to, make probably some sweet treats type things. I made crystallized ginger last year, which is one of my favorites. I'll probably make that again. And just some things so I have some really tasty things that I enjoy. I suppose Christmas for me is still wrapped up in the food.
Yeah.
But definitely keto.
For me, it definitely is food. I like the food stuff a lot, but one of the focuses that I've shifted a bit is to really work on savory foods as much as I can. Although I always do Christmas, I came up with a bunch of Christmas cookies. I made some caramel the other day, all keto, because people ask for it and I want to help. And it's fun, tinkering the alchemy of it. And I was a baker as a child. I loved baking. But one of the things that I have noticed my focus shifting to, this year, I'm not making a dessert for me and Eric for Christmas, but I've had some Christmas cookies this week because I made some, and they just existed. But my focus for the meal will be the meat and maybe some veg. I go a little veg heavier on the holidays than I do most of the time because it's fun to make those kinds of things. But, we all have our approach. Terry's not as focused on the food. Daisy still really loves to make the ginger and the fun stuff, and I kind of like all of it.
And pigs in blankets. Talking about savoury,
okay,
there'll be some pigs in blankets. Do you know pigs in blankets?
Of course.
Is that an American thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are multiple approaches that can work. I think it's just finding your own equilibrium. Where are you going to feel best? And the three of us are fairly lucky in that, as I think it was Daisy, it might have been Terry, mentioned, like not going to a lot of big family celebrations where the food is going to collapse the table at any moment can actually be nice to not have to be in those situations. And at the same time, there are certainly plenty of strategies to navigate those experiences as well.
Yeah, it's nice not being put in that situation where you might be tempted by stuff. Just not having it is a lot easier.
Yeah. And in previous years, I was going to family holiday things. I would just bring what I wanted to eat, so I knew that I was covered, so I wouldn't have any anxiety about it. And, I was just talked with my sister-in-law or my mom about what I was bringing, and they understood, and it was no big deal.
I agree. I have had those kinds of holidays while I've been keto, or before that I was doing paleo. And I would just make sure I had several things there that I was really going to enjoy, so that the other foods didn't even come up on my radar, really. So if food is a big part of it as far as the socializing or whatnot, I think, as Kim said, there's tons of strategies, tons of recipes and cookbooks, and I'm still waiting for the box to appear in my package room of some Christmas cookies from Kim. But, I think, we all have ways of managing it. And I think the biggest thing that I've been really aware of this year with doing the coaching around fasting is really trying not to make so much stress for ourselves around the holidays. They're already a stressful time for many of us. And so really making it, it's one day, it's 1 week or whatever, rather than catastrophizing it and making it like it's going to set back our whole year or something, of just kind of trying to contain it. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the season, and keep going.
Right. We blow a lot of things up in our head to be more important than they have to be.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can I get some top tips for 2020, I guess?
All right. I like this feature of the Keto Woman podcast. I might have to incorporate it on Keto Life Support. I guess I am right now. I'm stealing it in the moment.
It's the first one.
Hey, for me, one of my top tips coming up to the end of the year is really being deliberate, I think, is a focus that I have for 2020. As I said, like writing things down when they're a goal, giving myself a deadline, being very strategic and logistical about things. So for me, the top tip I have and the focus I'm going to put coming into the new year is don't just say what I want, say what I want, how I'm going to get there, and when. So if I have a project I'm starting, to give myself both an overview of what it looks like and a deadline. And that can apply to any area. But I think so often I love to fantasize, right? I think I'm going to do this. It's going to be like this. It's going to be great. And then I don't put into place like really strategic step 1, step 2. So I am instituting that one day a week, not for the whole day, but there's one day a week that I spend a period of time, whether that's 15 minutes or 2 hours, depending on how much stuff I have coming up, where that one specific scheduled time, I'm going to sit down, look at all my projects that are coming up, and put pen to paper on how they're going to lay out.
Good plan. Terri, how about you?
I guess my top tip would be, it's going to sound a little woo-woo, but really to focus on self-compassion. What does taking good care of me look like? What does that mean as far as behaviors, choices as food, health things, exercise, meditation, whatever it is? How do I be good to me? Because as we've been talking today, we talked about a lot of things that we recognize now we learned to use to soothe, but they're actually harmful. When I think of that, then I'm not being compassionate toward myself when I choose those things. So how can I best move forward with compassion? And that doesn't mean overindulgence either. Compassion is, it has limits, it has boundaries, I'll say. But to just really give yourself that self-compassion to navigate this new year.
I like that. Well, I'm not used to giving top tips.
Well, now you have to give one.
But I have to give one. Mine's going to be a bit silly.
And you can't say get a dog.
Oh no, that's what I was going to say. That was my top tip. My top tip is get a new dog. You're a mind reader.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is. I mean, it is a bit silly, but I have to say, when I think about it, actually, my last 3 dogs, the decision to get those dogs have been born out of, and one of them is snorting outside the door. That will be Bets. But it has been brought out of a particularly low period where something in me says, get on the internet and have a look. I found Bets on Le Bon Coin, which is, I don't know, like a Craigslist type site. And something in me drove to look for Amy, and something in me drove to look for Rocket. And they've brought so much, and they really do help. So although it is a bit silly, I suppose you could translate it as get whatever you need in your life that you know from deep down is going to help. Maybe I should find alternative ways to implement self-compassion and soothe rather than just getting a new dog.
Well, I think that there are often ways in which when we get into a cycle of a low cycle, all our attention tends to be turned inwards. And when you get a new dog or a new friend or you have something new external that needs your care, that turning that care outward, putting your attention on somebody or something or, something else is very useful. And so, that might even, for some of us who can't have a dog or don't have a dog or don't want a dog, it might be volunteer work, or it might be just like turning that attention that you've kind of turned toxic cycle inward, turning your attention out of yourself towards taking care of someone.
And I think there's also another way to look at it. I was just thinking as you were saying that, is that turning it onto something else. And there's definitely that something that works about nurturing someone or something else and giving your love to them. In some ways, it's a lot easier than giving it to yourself. So maybe treating myself how I treat my dogs, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
but I do get a lot back from them.
People often talk about the kind of love they get from their pet, that their dog especially really, gives them a lot of affection and attention and needs them. And to be needed is very powerful.
And certainly my last 2 have been a lot of work because they came in as very scared rescue dogs. So there's that sense of achievement as well.
Yeah.
Turning them around.
Well, super duper. Now I feel bad. My tip was very unemotional. I'm preparing.
Yeah,
but this is why you get things done and we don't.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's been wonderful sharing this space with you. It's nice to be roomies again, even if it's just for an hour or so.
Yeah, that's been great.
All right, ladies, it's been really nice to talk to you too. And I hope that people enjoyed this kind of more personal, interpersonal. Honestly, this is how we speak to each other. Sort of, although we don't often give top tips.
No.
But I hope people have enjoyed this little glimpse into our own heads, what's going on with us. And next year when Terri has a podcast as well.
Yeah, it'll be a multi-keto multiverse.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this combined episode of Keto Life Support and
Keto Women Podcast.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
And happy 2020. To get the resources and links from this show, please go to ketowomanpodcast.com/episodes. Please share this podcast with as many people as possible by sharing one of my links or just taking a screenshot of an episode that you enjoyed. Reviews really help raise the profile of the podcast, which gets it in front of more people, but also helps me attract a wide variety of guests. So please take a minute to leave a review on whichever podcast app or platform you like to listen on. It doesn't go unnoticed by me, the people who regularly like, share and comment on my posts. Your support really does mean the world to me. Thank you. Are you enjoying this podcast? Help me make more episodes and videos by making a pledge at my Patreon page, patreon.com/Keto Woman, or simply hit the support button on the Keto Woman podcast website. Don't forget to join in the fun on the Keto Woman podcast Instagram and Facebook pages, and Daisy_Keto Woman on Twitter. Are you my next extraordinary woman? Maybe you've got an idea for a show, a topic you would like to hear about. Let me know how I can tickle your earbuds by dropping me a line at daisy@ketowomanpodcast.com. This week's end quote is from Albert Einstein. Strive not to be a success, but rather to be a value. Bye-bye, Keto Lovelies, and may 2020 be your best year ever.